Question for you. How does a destroyer win a pirate fight without firing a single round? In a four-skiff rush, the Navy's first moves are to identify, warn, hold course, and flood the deck with non-lethal pressure, while the helicopter paints every boat and the crew logs every call under international law. But what flips the switch from water cannons to SEAL teams? We'll walk the line, Maersk Alabama style, when captured lives and imminent harm override everything. Stay and you'll see the exact trigger points that change the Navy's voice from calm to kinetic. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. 4 skiffs fan out at first light, no warning shots. The destroyer stays at convoy speed and holds fire because it sits inside the international recommended transit corridor, a narrow lane watched and reported through regional security hubs. The rule here is simple. Keep the merchant ships moving, keep the profile calm, and make every move traceable. The convoy runs in 2 columns. The warship rides offset, bow toward the threat axis, sensors hot, bridge team stacked 2 deep. Their job is deterrence first, force only if they must. The skiffs split wide into a box. You can see ladders and grapnels riding low along the gunnels. VHF chatter spikes with broken calls that don't match fishing traffic. People expect the destroyer to blaze away. Instead, the crew opens sea chests, pressures up the fire main, and rigs water cannons along the rail. It looks soft, but every step fits the playbook. The point is to deny approach, record conduct, and give the other side a way to leave without losing face. First moves happen fast. Combat Systems marks each contact with a track number and assigns a threat color. Radar and AIS show course, speed, and drift. The bridge hails on channel 16, then the working channel calls signs, bearing, and range. All of it goes into a log. Time, response, and any change in behavior. A Seahawk lifts from the flight deck and climbs to a high orbit. Its crew calls shape, engine count, fuel can racks, and whether ladders are lashed fore or aft. Positive ID without provoking a chase is the aim. Rules of engagement run up a ladder, not a cliff. First presence. Show the hull, show the helicopter, and let the convoy know you're watching. Then hail. Clear calls, plain language, and warnings about approach limits. Next maneuver. Turn just enough to throw a hard wake across the skiff's path. Finally, non-lethal pressure. Searchlights hit eyes and cameras. The long-range acoustic device pumps directional tones that force the helmsman to flinch. The hoses blast a wall of water that shreds speed and floods decks. The air-sea team keeps the picture tight. The helo paints each hull with a laser designator so the ship can talk in precise bearings, and spacing flyer shows ladders bright against cooler fiberglass. Calls go down to the bridge every few seconds. Range opening, range closing, wake effects, and fatigue on the oarsman RHIBS. Sit in the cradle with crews strapped in, engines cold, so no one mistakes staging for a chase. Launching too soon risks dragging the skiffs into a corner. International law frames the tempo. Piracy triggers universal jurisdiction, but the process still lives and dies on evidence. So the crew timestamps every hail, shoots photos of ladders and grapnels, and records the VHF traffic that record moves to maritime security centers and, if needed, a courtroom. The goal is both safety now and accountability later. Stakes jump when one skiff surges for the merchant ship's lee, where wind shadow makes boarding easier. The destroyer answers with a crossing move that throws a heavy wake. At the same time, the hoses open along the rail, turning the climb zone into a flooded ramp. The helo calls the spacing closing, 5 boat lengths, then 7, then 10. The skiff loses momentum, swings beam on, and the ladders clatter. Under pressure and on camera, the 4 skiffs peel away. No bullet casings, no stretchers, and the convoy keeps schedule. The lesson is plain. A steady hull, clear warnings, and measured pain can beat a rush without a trigger pull. And yet every sailor on deck knows there's a threshold. Once a hostage is taken and harm draws close, the next play looks nothing like this. What flips the Navy from hoses and warnings to rifles and surgical shots? A single clear threshold. Imminent danger to a hostage, confirmed by positive identification of hostile intent. When that bar is met, restraint ends and precision begins. In 2009, a US-flagged cargo ship was taken about 250 nautical miles off Somalia. The master, Captain Richard Phillips, ended up in a covered lifeboat with armed pirates, and a US destroyer took station to watch every move. The warship didn't charge in. It built an outer cordon, stabilized the scene, and kept the lifeboat inside a controlled box. More ships arrived, but the core remained the same. Communicate, de-escalate, gather facts, and keep the hostage alive. The pirates had one asset, a human shield, and the Navy would not hand them a second one by pushing too fast. That restraint carried costs. Hours stretched. Negotiators worked the radio. The ship's crew recorded every call and any threat the pirates made. Public pressure grew ashore, but on board the Standard stayed strict. The rules of engagement allow lethal force only when life faces immediate harm and intent is clear. Vague threats don't count. A raised rifle with a steady aim at a hostage does. Until that moment, the Navy tightened its control without triggering a panic. The destroyer's crew built a stack for decisive action. They managed sea state around the lifeboat by holding a steady lee, keeping waves predictable so shooters could model motion. On the fantail, trained marksmen set up behind stabilized optics. Rangefinders gave exact distance. Spotters called wind, mirage, and spray combat systems fed drift data and timing pulses, so the team could sync shots with the lifeboat's bob and roll. Overhead, surveillance sharpened the picture with clean angles and constant updates. Tools changed with the mission. No water cannons here. The kit was precision rifles, night optics, and laser range data. Explosive tech stood by to deal with the lifeboat's canopy or any booby traps if the scene shifted. Medical teams prepped a trauma lane on deck with stretcher, fluids, and a warmed space for a hypothermic patient. Detention spaces were readied for surviving pirates, with chain of custody packets, camera slates, and evidence bags labeled to courtroom standards. Command ran tight loops. The ship's captain owned the deck and safety. An on-scene commander fused inputs from sensors, snipers, and negotiators. Higher headquarters tracked and approved authorities minute by minute. Legal advisors stayed in the circuit to confirm the threshold for force and document each step. When they green-lighted lethal action, the order was narrow. Protect the hostage, stop the threat, avoid collateral harm. Then the trigger appeared. A pirate aimed a weapon at the hostage inside that cramped lifeboat. Movement settled for a beat. Wind eased. The shooters had their window. 3 shots cracked almost as one. The threat ended before the hostage could flinch. Boarding teams surged. Medics moved fast. The hostage came aboard alive. Surviving pirates were taken into custody, their weapons tagged, their statements recorded under guard. That operation showed the lawful pivot from deterrence to force when harm is imminent and intent is undeniable. It also set the tone for today's watch teams. They still drill for small boats and ladders, but they also monitor the horizon for anti-ship missiles and drones. Counter-piracy and air defense now run in parallel, with Seahawk crews tracking skiffs at wave height while combat information centers scan high for hostile launches that can cross a sea in minutes. The real edge isn't hardware, it's judgment. Crews win quiet by showing up, logging every move, and letting skiffs back out without bloodshed. Then, when a hostage faces real danger, they shift fast and end it in seconds. That balance keeps shipping on schedule and keeps sailors alive. If you want the full playbook, from LRADs to snipers, say which step surprised you most, and share this with someone who thinks it's always guns first. Your take helps shape what we break down next. Next, we'll ride with a Seahawk on a night sortie where one wrong light marks the difference between fisherman and pirate scout.